Hey guys, welcome back to another building with Mamabear. Behind me is a custom tree that I built as I wanted to build a tree in my ice biome on TryCraft, and I figured I would come into creative and build it with you guys. So I'm going to show you guys how I did this. It's kind of based off of a weeping willow tree, and I wanted it to be lit up and also a little bit frozen. So let's get right into it, guys. I started off the trunk of the tree by doing a 4x4 base, and I went about 15 high. And then I decided that I wanted it just to be a little bit thicker, and so I ended up doing a 3x3 trunk. I then moved on to adding some dimension to the trunk of the tree by wrapping the oak logs around in different directions to give it kind of a windy, twisty look, and to give the knotty look of the different logs, the different directions that the logs are in. And then once I got to the top, I did around the entire edge of it with another layer of oak logs. I then moved down to the bottom of the tree and I started working on the roots and excuse me, building up the base of the tree so that it just had a little bit more thickness as a real tree would towards the base of the tree, and moving the roots out diagonally so that it looks more like a real tree. I then took some stripped oak logs and added them in randomly in different spots to break up the texture and give it some more dimension and different look to it. I also wanted to get the knot look and make it stand out more against the bark with the stripped oak. And I did this all the way up the tree to the top. And then once I finished with that, I went back down to the bottom of the tree and thought that it still needed more thickness down here. It needed to be wider and thicker according to how large it was, keeping it in proportion. And so I added more to the bottom of the tree to try to get the proportions correct and make it look right. I extended out some of the roots and built some more out to make it look good. After that, I moved to the top of the tree and I did a 3x3 section going out one every layer. And this is because I wanted the tree to kind of look like it was leaning over or hunched. Since this is based on a weeping willow, they generally lean over some and then the branches come down. So I wanted to do that, and I added the stripped logs in. And once I was happy with that, I decided to pull out the branches and use the combination of the oak logs and the stripped oak logs and bring it out in different directions so it had natural looking branches, just like a tree would. They kind of go all over the place. So I did that only on the side that the tree would be leaning over to, as I wanted that look of leaning over. I didn't want branches on the side where I guess you would call it the tree's back. It looks like a hunchback. I didn't want the branches there. So once again, after having the branches, I needed to fill in more of the bottom to make it thicker, to make sure the proportions were correct. After that, I took some oak wood planks and added those in to even further give it more texture and dimension, and just make the tree all around look a little bit better with the different blocks that I used. Once I was satisfied with how the branches looked and all the different logs, I decided I needed to light the tree up so that it looks like fairy lights when the tree is done. And I definitely wanted lighting in the tree as I'll be building this in survival on the TryCraft server, so I did not want the possibility of a ton of mobs spawning in the tree. So there are a lot of lanterns. I spammed them all over the top of the tree and then also hanging down. After getting lanterns down all over the place, it was time to put some leaves, and I just use oak leaves, and I'm putting them on very sparingly right now, just mostly around the lanterns and not very many, as we're going to do some different things and add some more oak leaves later. I'm doing this very randomly and trying not to create any kind of a pattern, as trees don't really have a pattern and they look better when they're very random. So I'm just basically trying to cover the lanterns and put a few leaves here and there until we get to the next part where we're going to add other stuff. Because I'll be building this in an ice biome, I wanted a frozen tree, and I initially started with snow layers on the leaves until they started melting and I remembered that I was in a plains biome. So I decided not to use the snow layers and just use snow blocks, and I was happier with that result anyway. And then I also added some packed ice and some blue ice in the tree, and I'm placing these randomly even if there's nothing underneath them right now because we're going to add more leaves afterwards. But I want the tree to appear as it's frozen, and the ice and the snow give it some very pretty color and the obvious appearance that it is going to be in a very frozen place. After I got a random sporadic amount of snow and ice, I put more leaves around, this time filling the leaves very full as I wanted the tree to appear full and with ice and snow. Because it's based on a weeping willow, I'm taking some of the leaves and dropping them down in just a straight line as the tree has the weeping leaves. Make sure you fill in any gaps and add snow and ice as you would like to make sure that you have the tree exactly how you would like it. I personally didn't like seeing the ice or the snow from the bottom of the tree, So looking up at the tree from the ground, I made sure that my ice and snow was covered so that you couldn't see it from that direction. And most of the ice and snow I covered with the leaves because they are spawnable blocks in survival, and I tried to make sure that this was as least spawnable as possible. And don't forget to go down on the ground and look up at your tree and fill in any leaves that you think that you need there, as you don't want the bottom of the tree to be completely bare. That's not how trees are, and we want to make this as real as we can. After checking out the bottom, I came back to the top to add some more ice and snow and some more leaves to get the tree up to the fullness that I liked. And this is personal preference on how large or full you want your tree and how much snow and ice you would prefer to have in it. Because this tree is based on a weeping willow, I wanted to add the vines so that they would grow all the way to the ground and give the appearance more of a weeping willow. And I put vines all over the place. I knew I was going to add a few more things later on in the build, and so I added vines absolutely everywhere just in case I accidentally broke one. I would have plenty of vines to grow to the bottom. And they also helped to cover some of the snow and the ice that I didn't want more leaves there, but I didn't really want to see the snow or the ice either. I decided to further add some more dimension and texture to the tree by adding some spruce trapdoors. I know that they have the little metal looking part on them, but I really thought that it just helped add some more dimension and texture to the tree by having that on there. I started adding lanterns to the bottom of the build as I wanted to make sure that it was lit up underneath it. If you are building this in survival, it's probably a good idea to add the lanterns right away, as it got very dark once I started filling in the top of the tree. To keep with the theme of the ice biome, I started adding snow blocks around the base of the tree to make sure it matches the top of the tree. And because of it being, like I said, in a frozen biome, deep frozen ocean, I think is technically what it is, but I call it an ice biome. I wanted to make sure there was snow all over, and I decided to add ice as well. So the ground is randomly covered in snow blocks and ice to keep with the theme of the build. After completing the ground, I decided that I wanted it to look like there was icicles hanging down from the tree. As glass panes don't attach to leaves, it was easy to put a straight line down of light blue stained glass so that it looks like icicles hanging down from the tree. I did this randomly with different lengths and different areas of the tree, mostly on the outside. There were a few times that I had to add some leaves to the top because I felt like I just needed a little more. It was too flat in that area, or it was right where I wanted to put the stained glass. And so I just added another. After I got the stained glass icicles in, I decided to use end rods to further light up under the tree and in the tree, and I thought it was a beautiful addition to make it look like there was icicles hanging from the tree. Once again, I had to fill in some spots with leaves because I felt as it was too bare or flat, or it was where I wanted to add the end rods. And I did the end rods different lengths and different areas, mostly on the outside of the tree. At the end of the build, I decided the back of the tree was just a little bit too flat, and so I decided to add some more bushes in there just to give it a little more depth and fill it out just a little bit. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me in building the custom tree. I hope that you guys will build this too and add your own touches to it. If you do build it, please comment below and let me know what you did. I would love to see it. Thanks. Bye.